Most people look at Aston Martin and they think James Bond. But behind this iconic and legendary car brand lies a deep and dark history. A history of financial crisis, bankruptcies, multiple change of owners. And in today's episode, we are going to find out how Aston Martin managed to survive over 100 years with all this roller coaster ride and still managed to touch the hearts of millions of people and stand out as an iconic brand even today. So I would like to welcome our guys, Mark and Mike. Let's deep dive. I want to start at the very beginning. At the very beginning of Aston Martin. How did Aston Martin come about and what's the history behind it? Mark, why don't you begin and tell us a little bit about the beginning, the very, very beginning of Aston Martin?
Right at the beginning, we got Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford. And with Lionel's family money, they invested in a small sales company to sell Singer cars, and hopefully then they will make enough money to do what they really wanted to do, which was build racing cars, lightweight racing cars. That's how it started. Very soon after they'd started, World War I happened, so everything stopped for a couple of years, and they had to then get back together again after the war. Fortunately, they both returned from the war and were able to continue.
That's a good start. But I think the World War could be the beginning of the first roller coaster ride in their financial crisis. Is that a good understanding?
Yes. The production stopped. There was nothing to sell, nothing to do. Races are stopped, and the position from Aston Martin from the beginning was racing creates identity. It was only on the reputation of lightweight engineering, handling, driver involvement, and performance. And after the First World War, Aston Martin had the opportunity to start with the passion of racing.
Yeah.
And that's also the part where the name comes from.
Ooh.
Right, Michael?
Yeah. I want to know how the name came about.
Yes, it's not about the founders, Bamford and Martin. Aston was Aston Hill, where Lionel Martin made hill climb races. And so Aston and Martin, that's the name. There's nothing from Bamford.
So just one of the founder rather than
Yeah.
two founders.
Yeah.
All right. So the First World War happened and then things stopped. Then what happened after the First World War? They came together and...
Yeah, they restarted again, and they had to change premises because who knows why. Obviously the lease would have run out in 4 years of war, but they had to change premises, but they still stayed in that same Kensington area. They were quite well off, these guys. But 1920, Bamford decided to leave. He wasn't happy with the way the company was going.
Then what happened? So they had this break in their production with the World War, and after that, what was their game plan? Did they go looking for funding, or what was their game plan after that?
The first finance came in from Zaborski, and he was also an avid racing enthusiast. So he came along and put lots of money in, and they built a proper racing engine. And between the two of them, Lionel Martin and Count Zaborski, they got 10 world records.
Oh, wow.
In speed and endurance. So that lifted the Aston Martin brand into the racing world.
Yeah. So that was their first international show of their racing capabilities.
Yeah, but unfortunately, in 24, Zaborski died in a Grand Prix.
Oh, it seems that it's rife with ups and downs. Just as the company started to do better, something happened, and then it's back. So what happened after that?
I think there was a main problem with Aston Martin. They had from the first moment the focus on racing, and racing costs a lot of money. And for the cars to sell, they had extremely low production volumes, but very high manufacturing costs because of the passion they brought in, and very expensive product development. But because of the limited economies of scale Aston Martin had from the beginning, there were always the financial problems, always the struggling. But we've seen from the beginning until now, the business model with the money was a problem. But they created something many other brands are not able to. They created identity, strong identity in these years. And that was the factor that brought Aston Martin through all the owners.
Yeah.
So it was such a strong identity from this moment, from the 20s on also. You can't let it die.
So it was already there from the beginning.
It's already there,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. No wonder that right after the World War finished, there was already investors coming in to rescue the brand. Then what happened? I also heard about this lady that came to the rescue.
Well, after Zabowski died,
yeah,
he was the finance behind the company.
yeah,
So Lady Charnwood, also a friend of the family, almost certainly, came along as an investor, and she put her son in as chairman of the company to run it. And the next year they were broke.
Jeez, didn't last very long, did it?
No.
Okay.
And shortly after that, at the end of 25, Lionel Martin was pushed out.
No, the original founder got pushed out.
Yeah.
That is very sad.
And then they come up with some more, so they invested and got a couple of other big investors to carry on with the process going forward. And these were Benwick and Bertelli.
Then, is this the area where the time that the World War II?
No, this is 1925.
Okay. Was there a quiet period where there was nothing much happening with the Aston Martin brand, and then the World War II happened? What's the story in between?
They created more racing cars. They made the basic only in racing. And so Aston Martin had the problem that they were not able to create a secure corporate base. The brand was also small over all the time, fragile and economically fragile, and that was the ongoing problem over all these years, also with the different owners. And the biggest change for me, perhaps I'm a little bit too fast in the history, but the biggest change for me came after the Second World War.
Okay, let's talk about the period after the Second World War. What happened after the Second World War?
Yes, I think it's the most famous name in the Aston Martin history came in. It was in 1947, and the famous David Brown purchased Aston Martin, and he really changed everything.
Okay, let's take a moment to understand what happened when David Brown came in. What did he bring to the table?
David Brown was not only a car enthusiast with passion for racing. David Brown was an industrialist, and under David Brown, Aston Martin became really a legend. That's the most important time, I think, Michael, you think so. And David Brown provided for Aston Martin the first time financial stability. And because he's an industrialist and he has a lot of experience with production of tractors, for example, and so there came with David Brown a lot of engineering investment and long-term strategic direction. And that were the parts Aston Martin missed over all the years before.
Do you think this is the first stabilization of the brand?
Absolutely.
Proper stabilising.
Okay.
Where they had both sides at the same time. They had some financial control and some engineering control and design control. So it started coming together nicely.
Now I want to talk about the exciting part. Everyone is waiting for the association of Aston Martin and James Bond and how it has survived all these years from Sean Connery to Daniel Craig. Let's dive into that. What happened?
David Brown created the typical DB models in Aston Martin. The DB models are the same as for Porsche the 911. It's the most important part of the brand. It became the most important part of the brand until now. And also we have to say, before this came, there was a technology connection because with Aston Martin, David Brown also bought Lagonda,
Yes.
a British manufacturer.
Yeah.
And that was the main aspect because Lagonda had an engine created by Bentley. It was a 2.6 liter 6-cylinder engine twin cam, and this engine was very good, and it brought the base for all the first DB models.
Yeah.
And before the James Bond time came, there was one aspect we have to talk about. The cars were so good that in 1959 the DBR1 created by David Brown the team won overall the 24 hours of Le Mans, and in the same year also the sports car championship.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that was the first really big reputation for Aston Martin in such a global event to take the overall winning.
That is
Le
amazing.
Mans just catch them all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really now visible to the entire world as something, a legend already by then. Yes.
And with this reputation, then came the other models, then the DB2, the DB4 and the DB3. We don't have to forget it. It was one of the most beautiful cars of their era. And then the legend came, the DB5. But at first, we didn't know that could be a legend. The legend came really with Goldfinger, with the movie, and Sean Connery in the position of James Bond. And then there was a...
Wait. Isn't Goldfinger from Germany?
Yes, it was Gerd Fröbe. It was an actor. I think it was German, yes.
And Mark, you're from Germany. You have to do
Yes.
that Goldfinger with the German accent again.
Goldfinger.
That was fun. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Okay, let's go ahead.
Then there was a scene. It was the really start, I think, of professional product placement with a car brand David Brown made there. And there was a scene. Sean Connery was in the small labor from Q in the James Bond movie, and he asked, "Where is my Bentley?" And Q answered, "Oh, James, the days are numbered. You're now driving this Aston Martin DB5. I have created some specials and customized the car for you. Let's see." Then the time of James Bond and Aston Martin was born.
Yes.
It was the DB5, this very elegant car. Look at the silhouette.
Yeah.
It was so typical British, the understatement. It was not loud like a Ferrari. It was not created like a typical race car. It was a powerful car, but with a typical British elegance.
Ian Fleming wrote James Bond driving a Bauer Bentley.
Yeah.
So it was really nice that they brought that in and then threw it out.
Yes. Did I hear that Ian Fleming started writing Aston Martin for the later instead of Bentley?
He changed it, yeah.
He changed it, yeah. Okay, cool. You know, for me, when I look at Aston Martin, the feeling is associated with the characteristics of James Bond, like the dangerous, sexy, spy, and there is this elegance that is mixed with the adventure and the danger with it. Is this just me, or do people associate Aston Martin like this?
I think that was a perfect match in person of Sean Connery. Then we see this silver DB5 represented the perfect extension of Bond himself. Sophisticated, dangerous, elegant, and technical advanced. For me, it was a completely new era. I'm born in 1979, okay? That was another time. But when I saw Goldfinger for the first time, it has, for me, a mythology. There was such a very big emotional part with this car and James Bond, and so the connection was born.
Yeah, the fantasy of this dangerous, sexy,
Yes.
association.
Yes.
Right. So, but the association continued up until today, most recently.
It went then was in 1969. There was the movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service. There was also an Aston Martin. It was a DBS. Before the DB5 had another role in I think it was Thunderball in 1965 before, and then the DBS came again in 1971 in Diamonds Are Forever. And then there was a big absence of Aston Martin with James Bond. And I think the next movie where an Aston Martin returned to James Bond was with The Living Daylights, Timothy Dalton in 1987.
Yeah.
And then it was the V8 Vantage, the real British muscle car.
Yes.
Yes.
And but the later on owner, Gauntlet, Victor Gauntlet, it was his car.
Oh, okay. That was in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Let's talk about the most recent one, because I grew up watching Pierce Brosnan, and that was my first James Bond, so to speak.
So we can see you are much younger than us.
So tell me about the Pierce Brosnan era with James Bond, with Aston Martin.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan started with a golden eye, and the first scene was also with a DB5. But then there was BMW with a product placement, and in the first movie with Pierce Brosnan, BMW presented the Z3 at this time, and later it was BMW 7 Series with a lot of customized features, and then the Z8. And then in 2002, it was changing. There came Aston Martin back with the V12 Vanquish, and there the connection was reborn. No other car, it was only then Pierce Brosnan in the role of James Bond and the V12 Vanquish. They created it very emotional. The V12 Vanquish from 2002 had fantastic natural aspirated V12. The sound was amazing, and in the movie, in the scenes, it was a lot of focus on the sound of this car.
Yeah.
So it was very good product placement for Aston Martin. And later, when we talk about the production scene and the history of Aston Martin, we will see that this V12 Vanquish was very important for the product range of Aston Martin of this time. And so, with James Bond together, was the perfect marketing. There was nothing better.
Do you guys think that it was marketing genius to place?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. James Bond, and also with the later movies with Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
That was another model, 2006, Casino Royale. There was the Aston Martin DBS of this time. It was the highest model of the DB9 Aston Martin product family. And also in the next one, there was the DBS in Quantum of Solace. And
The DB5 came back in on Casino Royale.
yes, also there was a poker game, and he won a DB5 from another person. Yes, very, very good. It was very intelligent to create scenes in the later James Bond movies where boss cars are together.
Yes.
And we have the same situation later with the DB5. It was in Skyfall. That was the most emotional scene together with the DB5, where you can see that the DB5 is really a part of James Bond's history.
Yeah.
It's a legacy. And later in Spectre, Aston Martin went a completely another way. They created a car only for the movie. It was a DB10, but the DB10 never was on the market, was never a road-going car, was created especially for the James Bond movies.
It speaks a lot about the brand association with the movie franchise.
Yes, yes. And then finally in the last movie, No Time to Die, it started in a very beautiful Italian city, Matera. For me, it's magic Matera. It's absolute magical when you see Matera. And then there were the scenes with the Pursuit, the DB5 James Bond in the streets of Matera. That was so amazing to see. And yes, you can see this time with the other brands. Ferrari has racing. Porsche has the discipline of engineering. Lamborghini has the loud, amazing cars. But there's one brand, it's Aston Martin. Aston Martin has James Bond.
Ooh, Aston Martin does have James Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
Mike, what about you? Is there any scene that you remember from James Bond about Aston Martin together that is your favorite?
They're all good.
Yeah.
The Bond movies that strayed away from the Aston Martin weren't as good,
Oh, that's what you remember.
especially when they went for the Lotus.
Ooh, so you don't like James Bond being associated with other cars, especially.
Well,
Lotus.
not with the Lotus. No,
Okay.
that car was quite ridiculous.
Yes, and we also can see in the last James Bond movie, it was also marketing placement with the new DBS Superleggera. And they also showed the Valhalla supercar in the last James Bond movie.
Did it?
I don't remember seeing that. No.
So you can see how important the James Bond movies are for the marketing perspective of Aston Martin.
Sounds like it's a very high time of, the peak times of Aston Martin when he was associated with James Bond franchise. But even during this period, it went through a lot of ups and downs.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. How did it happen? There were so many financial troubles.
I think we talked about the famous David Brown era.
Yes, we talked about it.
I think it was 1972. Yes, it was 1972.
Yeah.
The David Brown era ends because the David Brown Corporation itself ran into financial difficulties.
Yeah.
And then it has to be an end there.
Then in 75, for the 8th round of investments, it was picked up by 3 guys, Sprague, Curtis and Flavors. And they bought it from liquidation, stabilised the company and pushed the development of the V8 Vantage and Lagonda.
I heard this really touching story of David Brown trying to pay off a huge amount of debt.
Yes.
Can you shed some light on it?
Yes, in 1972, Aston Martin had £5 million in debt, and David Brown paid all this, and then he sold Aston Martin for only £101.
£101.
Yes.
So he got £101
Yeah.
for the entire car company.
Yes, but at first he paid the debt.
He first paid the debt. Is it because you think that he couldn't manage to do the upkeep of the brand anymore?
Yes. The high development costs anymore, new products were needed, and because of own financial troubles, it was not able for him.
So, Mike, you said that there was a couple of guys, three guys that came in and tried to save that. Did they succeed in getting anything done out of the?
Well, yeah, they did. They pushed for the Vantage and the Lagonda, but their time with Aston Martin wasn't very long.
Yeah.
And that was when Victor Gauntlet and a bunch of venture capitalist investors had a go at running it. But Victor Gauntlet was the main man. Tim Hurley was the other guy. But they set up a whole investment company for outside investors for it. But only lasted for a very short while. And that was the petrol tycoon, Victor. And then it went over to Ford.
Okay, let's talk about the Ford era. What happened during the Ford era, Mark?
Yes, in the Ford era, there happened something very special. Mike told us about the Lagonda. The Lagonda, we have to talk before, was the bravest and the most controversial cars before the Ford era. And Aston Martin tried with the Lagonda open a new future segment. The car had an extremely different design from the classic DB models. It was very flat, angular, futuristic, and with a digital cockpit.
Oh, wow.
But-
Okay. For that time.
Yes, but also the Lagonda was very problematic. It was very expensive. It was complex, fragile, and difficult to produce. It was a part, but it was very important because Prince Philip bought the Lagonda, and he used it, I think, very often when he drove to London and so on. So also the Lagonda was a famous car. But because of all this, the high production costs and the low manufacturing experience that exists, there was also a ship owner. I think it was a Greek person, Levantos. He was at this time I think nearly the manager.
Right.
Is it right? I think so. And Ford brought something that Aston Martin needs. It was global distribution and quality control. Then the manufacturing and the engineering Aston Martin hadn't before. And the period with Ford, it was from 1987 to 2007. It marks the most stable chapters of the Aston Martin history.
Wait. So after the David Brown era, it went through sort of a up and down with multiple other private investors coming in.
Yeah.
And this is the first time a corporation is coming in, and it made a huge amount of difference in Aston Martin's history. Let's talk about that. What happened? What did Ford bring? Why don't we start with Mike?
They brought structure.
Yeah.
They brought an industrial mindset, and they brought finance and new facilities. But what they didn't bring was heart.
That really touched your heart. I want to understand from you, Mike, why do you feel so strongly what happened to Aston Martin, as opposed to what Ford brought in? Why did it impact you so much?
Because up until then, Aston Martin, through all its difficulties, were heart-driven. And suddenly the heart was taken out of it. And it was a production line with committees and boards of directors that are only interested in numbers. They're not interested in special cars.
That is so touching, and thank you for sharing what it means for you, because it really touched my heart, and I'm sure the audience can feel what Mike just shared, because Aston Martin is connected with our hearts, and that's what made Aston Martin stand out, survive for over a century. It's not something small. It's a huge deal. It's a big deal to survive over 100 years. 12 bankruptcies. I mean, that's crazy. And it still stands today because it touches people's hearts. I want to know from you, Mark, about the structure that built in. Having said that Ford did stay with Aston Martin for 20 years. And what did it bring?
The structure was the main part, and when we see the models, especially of the 90s, there was the Vantage, and but it was from the design completely different to the David Brown era and what happened later. When the DB5 was the elegant British car, it was the gentleman. Then the 90s Vantage was also a gentleman, but with a sledgehammer. It was extremely powerful.
Okay,
And
Tana.
yes, it looked
That's a
so
much more of a
so
gentleman's
aggressive. The elegance was a little bit away from this car, but it was very powerful. Perhaps it was in the 90s, it was the right car for the 90s. But the biggest change in the Ford time was the development of the DB7. The DB7 brought the elegant silhouette from the former DB models back. And the problem with the DB7 at first was it was not a real Aston Martin. It was the platform from the Jaguar XJS. Jaguar belonged to Ford before, and they used a lot of technical parts, switches and components from Ford for the DB7. So for the Aston Martin fans, that was a big problem. But for Aston Martin, it was financial rescue.
Yeah.
Because the DB7 was one of the most profitable models Aston Martin brought, and it stabilized the company.
Yeah.
Yes, Aston Martin was for Ford the luxury brand. It was for Ford the opportunity to reach the high premium segment in the car market. So they need a product that could be placed in this segment.
Yes.
And the DB7 with the legendary design of the David Brown era and with the economic from Ford was a very good deal for Aston.
I mean, I can kind of understand if I put a corporate hat on and I look at the strategy of what Ford did, we can see that there is this product that is struggling, Aston Martin, but it has got association with the richest people in the world, including the royal family of England. And over a period of time, it has always been associated with premium, luxurious, and elite class of people.
That's the main part. Aston Martin was, and it's a brand that was not created by numbers. It's built on real passion. And with every Aston Martin, you can feel this. Through all the crises, the passion never was really away. There was always a rest from the passion that is still alive.
Yeah.
And every new investor tried to awake it from a new side. And that's it what made Aston Martin so unmistakable.
Yeah.
The creations of Aston Martin, some car manufacturers lost their souls from the past with new models they have created. They are more created from numbers and economic side than from the heart. But with Michael's part, we can say an Aston Martin is art.
Yes.
And it will be art.
Yeah. And what Ford tried to do was bring in the combination of the numbers,
Turn it into a commodity.
and use the existing branding or the association with elite people and try to put it out there. But it lasted only 20 years. Why did it only last 20 years?
There was the same problem like before. There was a great development in the Ford era. It was the Aston Martin V12 Vanquish. I think that was the primary car in the Ford era after the DB7 that brought Aston Martin really back into the top league of the car market. It based on the DB7, but it was a loud, very elegant sports car. And then the development of the DB9 started. The DB9 was a completely new model. Modern, very good technology and aluminium structure. But then was the part where Ford also has financial pressure. So the development from the DB9 was the biggest move to create a completely new car, which was completely in the time with technology and the production. But then trouble for Ford made the decision that Ford has to sell Aston Martin Lagonda.
So at that point,
They would probably be selling an Aston because it's one line.
yeah,
and it was to protect 20 or 30 lines of other models that are huge sellers globally.
Okay.
So economically it makes sense to take out the most expensive one, because it produced small margins.
Yeah.
And they're a numbers company.
Yes. So another business decision was made.
Yes, but that's the point where independence returns.
Yes.
And that was also the point racing returns with Aston Martin.
Okay, so a new era is being born again from the corporate structure
Yes.
to another level of independence of Aston Martin doing what it was designed to do from the very beginning, which is racing,
Yes.
and touching the heart of millions of people. Right. So was there anything at this point that you guys want to bring in the history of Aston Martin before we jump into one of the significant ones that I really want to talk about, which is Lawrence Stroll?
Yes, I think in the era after Ford, we have to say that there was a consortium around David Richards. David Richards at this time was founder of ProDrive, and ProDrive was a builder of racing cars. For example, ProDrive made the legendary 550 GT1. It's a Ferrari 550 Maranello, created for the GT1 racing series from the FIA. Was a very successful car. And so also David Richards created from the DB9 model, the GT1 racing model. It was the DBR9. And the DBR9 is a 2-time 24 hours of Le Mans winning car in the GT1 series. That's very important also for the marketing.
Yes.
Racing is very important for a brand to raise the selling rates. It's very good marketing. And
the return to Le Mans is doubly important.
yes. It's the most
Because
important 24-hour race.
Yeah.
in the
Is
world.
it because of the visibility of the car at this point?
Well, yeah, but it was the return to the winning circle of Le Mans,
Yeah.
because it did that in '59.
Yeah. So it came back.
Yeah.
Right.
And very important in this consortium, it were investment there from Kuwait, a deem investment from Kuwait, and John Sinders. He was an investment banker and an Aston Martin enthusiast. And because of the two enthusiasts, David Richards and John Sinders, in combination with fresh and good capital from Kuwait, it was an interesting time after the Ford era. And so Aston Martin came back to racing, and the models they created in this time were very good. And one big move was the cooperation with Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz in this time became a strategic partner for development of the engines and other parts,
Yeah.
and that was very important. And we see actually in an Aston Martin they have AMG engines.
Even today.
Yes.
Okay.
So when they was with Ford, they had lots of bits of Ford going into a high brand, and now they've got an elite engine to put in their high brand, which is a lot more saleable.
But then we had, I think, the most dramatical scene in the Aston Martin history. It was the IPO.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Oh, thank you
There
for reminding me
was-
that.
That was, I think, very hard impact, and it was a way from passion back to reality.
Ooh, okay, that hit hard. Okay, tell me about the IPO, Mike.
Was it reality? It was all about the numbers, trying to get the IPO through, for sure.
Yeah.
They come up with a valuation of the company at £4.3 billion. As we've been discussing, it clearly wasn't worth that much, because it's been down to the ground so many times, and it was just starting to come back up again. So where they got that number from, I don't know, but the IPO, when it started, they issued shares at £19, which is a reasonable price for a starter. And then the IPOs are traditionally difficult anyway, because some will just immediately take off for a few days and then collapse. Others will go and then start going up again. But after an IPO, there's a big sell-off. Always. You get your allocation and the price jumps up £1 maybe, and there'll be a massive sell-off because they'll take their couple of £1,000 win. But so the cycle started, but because after 6 months, the real numbers come in. This is where the reality comes into it. The real numbers come in. They've got millions of pounds of loss. So more increased debt and the share price plummets.
So now, very big situation of Aston Martin. It has gone IPO and then it's suddenly now in debt.
I think the problem was, the critical problem was not solved. Aston Martin, that was also the part to bring Aston Martin with the IPO in the level like other luxury brands. Yes, Aston Martin had the image of a luxury brand as a luxury icon, but not yet the financial structure of one. And that was the biggest problem. Unlike Ferrari, Aston Martin did not have the same level of pricing power and recurring profitability and production discipline or brand-controlled scarcity. It was still a low-volume car manufacturer with high development costs, significant debt, and a long history of unstable cash flow. And at a stock exchange, you are out then.
Yeah, what is also special about being a publicly listed company is there is so much control. You've got a board of directors with the chairman sitting there, and everything is controlled meticulously.
Yeah.
And it suits big companies, not small companies with big ideas.
Yeah. So after that IPO and the share prices plummeted, what happened? Because as we all know, Aston Martin still stands today. What happened?
Perhaps I'd like to go a little bit deeper into the K figures at this IPO so that we can see what's very important. Is it okay?
Yes, of course.
When we see, for example, I have here some data from 2018 and 2019. The wholesale volumes in 2018 were 6,441 vehicles.
Okay.
In 2019, 5,862 vehicles, minus 9%. Also the revenue, it was 1,096.5 in 2018 and 997 million in 2019. And then we have the EBITDA. It's 247 million in 2018 and 134 million in 2019, minus 46%. But the main part, the adjusted operating profit, minus 96%, from 146 million in 2018 to 5.4 million in 2019.
Okay, so what happened there?
The market was not able to bring out very good profit. The IPO, it was
successful, wasn't it?
The GBX was only the development structure in this part. They had to develop the car. The car came later, but the development costs and all the regulations they had, the costs were massive. And so I think the capital market story was too optimistic. They were full of energy because of the time before, full of hearts. And they thought, okay, with this luxury brand, we're reaching the hearts of the people and it will be a good story.
Yeah.
But
The reality does not match.
no, does not match.
Another financial crisis.
Yep.
Okay. So, then what?
Then came the rescue man.
The rescue man. Ooh.
From Canada.
Well,
And
isn't that the guy? Okay. Because I heard you say that Lawrence Stroll bought another formula company from one of the famous Kingfisher guy from India, wasn't it? Mike, yeah. Okay, go ahead with that story because I'm from India. Kingfisher was famous, so
Yes, there was Lawrence Stroll.
Good beer.
it's good beer. There you go.
Yes, there was Lawrence Stroll, a Canadian businessman,
Yeah.
and he led the rescue consortium for Aston Martin. And Lawrence Stroll saw the opportunity in Aston Martin because he was invested in the Formula One team, and Lawrence Stroll is not a businessman like the others before. Lawrence Stroll is a luxury brand maker. For
Okay.
example, Ralph Lauren,
Yeah.
Michael Kors,
Yeah.
Tommy Hilfiger. He is an investor in the clothing market, and he created nearly the biggest brands global in this market. And the strategy was focused on rebuilding the brand's prestige
Yeah.
and the strong Formula One involvement. Because for Lawrence Stroll, the Formula One was the platform number one to present Aston Martin as a luxury and sporty brand.
The likes of us, we're world endurance, but Lawrence Stroll was full on Formula One.
Yeah. Yes. So that is very good turn of
Sorry.
things for Aston Martin at this point to now then become a lot more stable after the financial crisis of the IPOs. So,
Stable with somebody that understands the company
okay, yes,
and what it stands for.
the heart, which is what is very important, which is what you're trying to say, because during Ford, they didn't understand the heart of Aston Martin. And there's this now another investor who understands what Aston Martin is all about, but also has the ability and perhaps the capital that he can inject to this brand to make a new wave of this brand. Is that what you would say?
That's very, very emotional. I have a lot of respect for people like Lawrence Stroll. Yes, Aston Martin was better, but the brand was strong. And Lawrence Stroll saw this opportunity to create, with all his experience and his knowledge base from the past, a higher business model for Aston Martin. Bring Aston Martin to a completely higher level of a luxury brand, not only a car manufacturer with passion. From the legendary times with James Bond and so on, you have all the components you need to create a new part of legend.
So, is this the new era of Aston? Can we call it the new era of Aston Martin when Lawrence Stroll came in?
Absolutely. When we see, I think the Stroll consortium put nearly 600 million pounds into the situation with Aston Martin, but they created also a new model range that's very amazing.
Wait, hang on a second. Is that the Valhalla?
Valhalla also, but before there was also the Aston Martin Valkyrie.
Okay.
It's the most extreme road-going car we have. It's a race car, but with a number plate.
So
And
it's a race car
extreme,
on
yes.
on the road.
Yeah.
Yes, and with the Formula One engagement in 2021, it was official the Aston Martin Formula One team, and so they used also the Formula One for the technology transfer.
But because Lawrence Stroll already had a Formula One team, he bought that with it and rebranded it for the Aston Martin.
Oh, that was clever. So he already had a Formula One team. So he has racing background now. He's a luxury brand maker. And then what a genius move. And then brought in one of the most famous with the heart brand, Aston Martin, and combined all of this.
And his son's a driver as well.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
This is a genius move.
It's Lance Stroll, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, talk us about the new models. You spoke about the Valkyrie and the Valhalla. Is there any other brand is there any other car that stands out, car model?
Yes, and this time, after we talked about in the James Bond part about the DB10, special made for the James Bond movie, then there was the DB11. And the new model part, the new model range is the Aston Martin Vantage. It's a smaller body, it's the sports car. And then we have the Aston Martin DB12. Both use the V8 bi-turbo engine from AMG, and the DB12 is more the Grand Tourer. And then they brought with a 5-liter bi-turbo V12 the new DBS. And no, it's a Vanquish. It's a Vanquish, not the DBS, I'm sorry. And this car has more than 800 horsepower, and it's the step into the pure...
Is that the hybrid?
No. Sorry.
Ah.
In the pure luxury segment of the Grand Tourer. It's the Ultra Super GT. You can see.
Yeah.
More than 340 kilometers per hour in a car that looks so elegant, so typical British. And yes, it's amazing. And then with the Valhalla, that's the hybrid. They took a lot of technology from the Formula One, and that's the supercar, the hypercar from Aston Martin.
I think that's probably one of my favorites, the Valhalla. The name also sounds so Amazonian or something like that. It's so exotic.
So with your clothes, I'd like to see how you can step into the Valhalla. Could be a very bit complicated.
It could be
I
complicated.
think you ought to look up Valhalla.
I will do that. Again, have I been mistaking Valhalla with something else?
I think you would prefer the DBX. The DBX is a model I think we can't ignore also. It's a luxury SUV. And the luxury SUV market is very important today.
Yeah.
Look at Rolls-Royce with the Cullinan, for example. Look at the Pure Sanguine from Ferrari. We don't want to talk about the newest model from Ferrari. I don't like it. And
Check out our Ferrari Luce episode if you'd want to know what Mark is talking about.
yes,
He has some very important things that he wants to say about Ferrari Luce.
And the DBX is the right model to be in this luxury SUV segment. It's typical like an Aston Martin. It's the design of an Aston Martin, unmistakable. It has the fantastic sound typical for Aston Martin, pure elegance. It's, for me, nearly the most beautiful SUV we have in the market, actually.
So it sounds like it brought in all the elegance and the niceties of Aston Martin and put it in a more utilitarian vehicle and made it a utilitarian. It can be used by anybody, like a family car. Would you say that?
There's also the main part. Lawrence Stroll is with the heart at Aston Martin, and not only with the numbers. And that's very important. At Ford, there were the numbers.
Yeah.
And now there is an owner again
With
a heart, with a passion for Aston Martin,
Yeah.
and also with the numbers.
Yes.
And I think this is a combination, and all the field where Lawrence Stroll is playing, that could be a very good story. But actually, there is also the problem in the market, like any car manufacturer have it. It's high production cost, all the regulations, especially from the European Union. That's very, very crazy what there's coming. And so, yes, a special car manufacturer like Aston Martin has to handle all the problems in the market, like the other car manufacturers too. But there is the point, the development costs for the new Aston are very high. But Aston Martin can't spread the development costs to hundred thousands of cars.
Yes.
They are a small manufacturer.
Yeah.
Still for the elite class and still high class. Yes.
Could completely upset Mark. They did have a look at EVs,
Okay.
and they had a deal with
My
Lucid.
goodness, no, I need my...
You're gonna cry. You can't imagine Aston with as an electric vehicle, can you?
It's another Bosch model with a different silhouette. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had a deal with Lucid, Californian EV specialist. but because the whole global, this will lift you up, the whole global attitude towards EVs is quietened down and softened. Aston have just pushed it off the calendar.
Very good decision. Very good decision. So they make hybrid. That makes sense because also in the motorsport we can see it. With the Valkyrie, Aston Martin is also in the WEC, the World Endurance Championship. That's the racing series with the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And the GT class with the Vantage, it's also very important. So it makes sense to bring a hybrid supercar for the road. Because the LMDH classement in the WEC, they are hybrid cars. But completely fully electric car from Aston Martin. Aston Martin is living from the sound, the special sound from an Aston Martin. It's unmistakable. And when there is an Aston Martin, only perhaps with synthetic sounds from the speaker, oh my goodness, it's terrible. What a f***ing sorry.
Beep, beep. I hope it doesn't come to that point. I can't imagine. As you were speaking, Mark, I have to go back and think about the Aston Martin association with James Bond. And coming back to the British elegance, the sophistication, the dangerous and sexiness of the character of James Bond, and the extension of this car as that character, I can't even begin to fathom how an electric vehicle is going to
It won't.
It won't, right? It won't. So maybe that's a very good thing that they decided not to continue with the electric vehicle for now. What do you think that the collectors would want to collect? Why don't we start with you, Mike? You love classic cars. So what are the ones that people would be interested in collecting?
The DB3 is quite special. The first time I saw it, I immediately got a connection with Shelby's AC Cobra.
Okay, tell us about
because they look so similar.
Who is this Shelby? Walk us through. How did it reminded you of Shelby?
Because I've seen Shelby's work before.
Yeah.
Ford versus Ferrari. Shelby built the car for Ford to beat Ferrari.
Legendary GT40.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So that's your connection with the Aston Martin DB3.
Yeah, because it looks very similar.
Yeah.
And it's an Aston, so it's a real McCoy. It isn't some
Other parts. Yeah.
Yeah, Lego car.
Yeah. So what about you, Mark? What do you think are the other among many Aston Martin, what would interest the collectors in your opinion?
I think one of the most collectible cars is also definitely the DBR1, the Le Mans winning car from 1959.
That was one-off though, wasn't it?
Sorry?
Was that one-off or a very limited?
No, very limited.
Yeah.
There was an auction, I think $22.5 million at an auction. Yes.
$5 million
For a DBR1, yes.
for one.
Yeah, but that's not so much. GT250 from Ferrari goes over the table for 60 million.
Yeah. That DBR1 was a winning car with Terrell Shelby driving.
Oh, no wonder. All right. So, is there any other car that is
I think
collectible?
totally the DB5.
Yeah. Because of the
most
association with
yes.
yeah.
And I think also newer models are collectible cars, especially the DBS from the DB9 series from 2007. It was the car from the Daniel Craig James Bond era. I think for me it's the Aston Martin with the best engine sound. I love this car, and when I collect cars, a 2007 DBS must be in the collection.
Yes, I can't wait to see your collection.
There was also a DV4 GT's Vedato, and one of those sold at auction for over 14 million pounds.
So some of these cars are really rare, isn't it? Now let me come to the very important part of this whole episode, which is, what is your favorite Aston Martin car?
The 2007 DBS.
Yes. This is the one that you're going to put it in the
It's not
collection.
only my favorite Aston Martin, it's my favorite car overall.
Yes. What about you?
I think mine's fairly obvious by now.
Yes,
The
the DB3. We've had this beautiful conversation with Mark and Mike, talking about the heart that Aston Martin represents. Aston Martin survived over 100 years as an iconic brand, but with a lot of issues. 12 bankruptcies, lots on lots of financial troubles, but it still managed to survive even today. That speaks a lot about the brand. If you have enjoyed this episode, make sure that you check out the next one. See you in the next episode.